Well, g'day everyone, how's it going? On a recent shoot, I was tasked with turning this boring ass boardroom into a stunning corporate office. And in this video, I want to take you through and show you how I made that happen and how you can do it too. But before we do that, let me tell you the backstory. So the opportunity for this one came to me from what I call a hot referral. And it's basically someone in the industry who knows about my work or has seen what I can do and has recommended me to someone else. And so that's how I kind of got hooked up with this one. And the job actually aligned with my portfolio work that I'd done previously. So this one wasn't difficult to secure. But what was really funny about this one is from the time I quoted the job until really approval was honestly around about 6 months. So I was waiting a while to hear back on this one, and call it providence if you want, but it was basically, it came through to me at the perfect timing as well, because I'd had a bit of a lull in my consulting side of the business. And so basically this job came along and it was perfect timing and everything worked out really wonderfully. So I was all guns blazing from that point on. So the client needed a high level top of funnel video to kind of highlight a new app that they just developed. They wanted to kind of elevate the brand and give it a corporate and commercial look to the video as well. And basically they wanted to highlight the app's functionality and features while keeping it engaging and also creating curiosity around the app and how it might work for other businesses. We agreed on a budget of 10,000 Australian dollars. And while that might sound like a lot, I still had to be really careful about how I utilized that budget to produce what they wanted produced. And I had 3 key talent that were in the actual story arc that needed to be paid and shot on different shoot days. And I also had a DP that I wanted to bring on and a producer as well, just to alleviate some of the stress that I would have had on set. And also the pre-production and the lead up to the shoot was quite busy for me. So I wanted to have a producer on board to put together the creative deck and the schedule and call sheets for the day. As a director as well on this shoot, I wanted to put $1,000 a day in my back pocket for doing the job and directing. And also I wanted to make sure there was about $2,000 left over, as I was also going to be editing this after the shoot and getting the video finalized for the client. So you can see that a budget of $10,000 starts to disappear really quickly. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a full cost breakdown of this one particular day to turn the office from this boring boardroom into this corporate office. Based on these considerations, I really needed a budget-friendly option to shoot this space. And my producer got to work and she found a space that a friend of ours, they worked out of, and that would have been great. That would have been like a mates rates situation and arrangement, but it just was like more of a co-space than it was a corporate space. So that wasn't gonna work. So Selena kept looking around and she found a few spaces within her building where she lived. And you could hire those or rent them for half day for free, just putting down a security deposit. So she sent me across some photos of the space and it actually looked really promising. And so we decided, hey, this is gonna be a lot of work because we literally have to take everything we need to build this whole office, but it's gonna be cost effective and we're gonna be able to make it exactly how we want. And turns out it was on like the 44th floor of the building as well. So we had some really good cityscape backdrops that really helped to sell this whole corporate office feel that we were going for. So from there, we moved to the set design and I had to build out a list of things that we'd need to create this corporate space. So things like computer screens, keyboard and mouse, office chairs, and the big thing that we needed in the space to kind of sell it was a partition or some sort of way to separate the cubicles to give it that real officey feel. So I looked online and I found a company that provided these petitions for a reasonable price, and I reached out to them, but unfortunately it was going to take them 2 weeks to get back to us, and that just wasn't going to work. We wanted to get this job ready to go and shot within a week. So I kept my search and continued, and I found some partitions at IKEA that would work really, really well. Now, IKEA have a really good returns policy as well. So even if they didn't work out well, then I could have returned them and got our money back. So that was the way we ended up going. The other items for the office were just stuff that I already had in my office anyway, and I got my DP to bring office chairs that he had, which were quite nice ones. And so that was it. We literally did that off our own backs and it worked out really well. So now that I had kind of everything sorted out for the shoot from a logistics and production point of view, I needed to figure out what I was going to shoot it on and how we were going to light it. So I went down the road of thinking about lighting for the space, and because we had the big open windows, I decided I wasn't going to compete with the ambient light coming through those windows. So all we really wanted was some lights just to complement the space and to just add in a little bit of shape to the subject as well, and just make it look like a corporate office. So in my own lighting kit, I've already had two 200D aperture Amarans and a couple of soft boxes like the Light Dome Mini 2. With that, I wanted another fixture just to give us a third option and a third light to make sure that we had enough light to kind of give it that little bit of shape to the space. So we opted to go for a 300D Mark II. Now, I already owned one of these, but I sold off some gear during the pandemic downturn, so I needed to hire this, and I went to Offshoot Rentals in Melbourne, which is a great rental house near my home. So they were able to hook us up with a 300D Mark II. And then we also wanted to shoot it in a commercial looking way. So we decided on some prime lenses, EFL series from Canon. So I also rented a 50mm f1.2, an 85mm f1.4, and a 100mm f2.8 macro lens. And that was to come in handy for some of the close-up scenes that we would shoot of the app functionality. The final thing that we thought to create a really nice lighting look to the office space was to get like a scrim or a 4x4 floppy and shoot through some silk material. So we landed on a Matthews 4x4 road kit, and this kit is cool because it includes two 4x4 frames and some really nice silk material that when you shoot through it with like a hyper reflector, it's got a really nice specularity to it. It creates a really pleasing lighting environment. So with the lighting and lenses out of the way, we then got to thinking about shooting this on a cinema camera body, something like a C70, C80, C300 Mark III, or even a Komodo X. But what we decided is that we needed to get in some tight spaces. We also needed to do some kind of run and gun scenes in an actual delivery van. And so we actually needed to have a camera that was nimble, and we could put it on gimbals and we could get it into tight spaces. So we landed on the Canon R5. Now this also worked out really well for budget consideration because I owned my own Canon R5 and my DP had used it in 8K RAW before as well. So he was familiar with the codec and the camera and how far we could push it in terms of lighting and things like that. So it worked out really, really well. I needed a lighting design that was going to work for the space no matter how it was orientated. The only image I had of the space was on the website, and having never gone there before, there were a number of unknowns. The biggest of which was whether or not the boardroom table could be moved around in the space or not. I went ahead and I mapped out a bit of a lighting design that would work no matter what way the space was oriented. So here's what I came up with as an ideal scenario. We'd place the scrim somewhere to the left side front of the subject and shoot through that with the 300D and hyper reflector as our key light. We'd shoot a 200D up into the ceiling with a hyper reflector as an ambient light, and we'd set up a second 200D back in the space somewhere with the Light Dome Mini as our hair light. After arriving on the day of the shoot, the boardroom table was actually orientated completely different to the photos. And after realizing we could move the table, we actually moved it closer to the window side of the room. We ended up placing the scrim and the 300D on the table itself, right here, and the 200D was shot into the roof around about here. From there, we felt that there was enough light in the space, and not having another fixture behind the subject meant that we could then shoot a clean 270-degree angle so that we could capture all the coverage that we'd need. So this is how the setup stayed for the remainder of the shoot. And it worked perfectly with just some small adjustments here and there. It was honestly so cool when I started to realize that this final scene legitimately looked like a corporate office. See it for yourself. From pretty much every angle, the scene looked on point, and it sold the space exactly as I envisioned it would. It was really awesome. I even got to sit in as an extra in some of these shots you'll see. Yep, that's my bald head sitting across on the other side of the table. The costs associated with bringing this space to life were as follows. The DP for the day was $600. The presenter talent was $500 for about 4.5 hours on set. Producer was $500 for the half day. The partition from IKEA was $186.50, but I ended up returning it in perfect condition, so that cancelled itself out. The gear hire for lenses, lights, and the Matthews 4x4 scrim was $583.50, but keep in mind that was shared between 2 days of filming, so I'll only consider that as a half day in the cost for the total for this day. We bought some coffees and food for the talent and crew, and so the total of that was $180.60, which I think included some basic stationery items to dress up the set a little bit more as well. So there you have it, all up, the 4 or so hours on set for that day cost $2,062.35. And I was also getting my director day rate of $1,000, so the total was $3,062.35. Well, thanks so much for sticking around to the end, and let me know in the comments if this content is helpful for you. If there's anything else you'd like me to cover about the shoot, also comment below and I'll see what I can do for putting out another video. If you did get value from this, make sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more videos. Well, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.